I'm Chris. Welcome to Brent and Chris Talk.
Oh yeah, we're back.
The episode count is growing.
I know. I feel like I always say we're back, but we are back.
Yeah.
Being back is good.
Being back is good. How was your week?
It was a long week and a quick week all at the same time. It's sort of strange in that I got a lot done, and it just blew by. Going to have some fun this weekend with my wife. Happy
Nice.
birthday, Courtney.
Happy birthday.
Yeah. She's going to be 27. Wink,
Nice.
wink.
Good husband.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure. I will always look way older. That's like the beauty of... I got so lucky I have a young-looking wife, so I'll be an old, decrepit bastard, and everyone's going to be like, wow, when did you get the second or third wife? Like, that's the OG. That's the original wife. So yeah, week was good though, man. We just had a lot going on, work, and I've been running around like a maniac trying to get stuff done. And I got my deck stained and house clean, and trying to get things ready before I leave town. That way I don't,
It's always
wind up
something.
coming home to a disgusting house. It's no good.
I hear you, man.
So, how was your week?
I like to say pretty uneventful. I would like to think that anyways. School starts for me September 30th again as I continue my path at Berkeley, and Berkeley with the E's, not the Y, College of Music, Berkeley. And big distinction.
Still Berkeley.
Yeah, one's in Boston, one's in California. So, anywho.
Getting that music degree.
Get that music degree. So, that's fun. So, jumping through, the college hoops.
Yeah, I bet.
Getting ready there.
It's old, doesn't it?
It does, but I gotta be honest, for me personally, as I've gotten older in life, way more manageable. I was not the 18, 19-year-old that was what you would say capable. How you say
Capable
of most life things. So we
that was just like a, I don't know how to say this, but I'm just gonna say it.
yeah. Chal and I were figuring things out from early on in life, and we figured it all out. It just took us a little longer, and she figured it out sooner. Women do.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
much smarter.
Much. And so that was that. I've been to Walmart a few times, I must admit.
How was the receipt checking?
The first time there was nobody there.
Excellent.
Second time there was a lady there checking receipts, and she was checking people's receipts. And she goes, "Excuse me, sir, I need to check your receipt." And I said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I don't do that." And I walked right by her.
Nice.
And
nice.
It seemed to work.
Yes.
And then today I got there early in the morning. No podium was even there. And I was like, victory!
Man, they just gave up altogether.
Just gave up. And
taking it down corporate wide.
Within 10 minutes, it was up. And there's this little old lady there. And I'm like, God.
She's got her cave.
I know.
She looks like she just wants to get her paycheck, Chris.
I know.
And what'd you do?
So, I am, trying to avoid this situation the best I can, and I'm buying cat litter again. It's, the number one thing I buy, I swear. Yeah. And I'm like, I got this figured out. So I pay for it, and I shove it into the plastic bags.
Nice.
And they say, "Oh, honey, that's not going to work." I go, "Yes, it is."
You watch me.
You watch. And so I crammed 25 pounds of cat litter into the little traditional Kroger sacks, or Walmart sacks, if you will.
All right.
And I was like, I refuse to show the receipt. And if you're gonna make me do that, get bigger bags here. Give me an option. And she goes, "Just show your receipt." I go, "I'm not gonna do that." And she was like, "You're gonna have to do it." I go, "No, I'm not going to." And this is the checkout lady, the lady at the...
This is the pre-receipt lady.
Receipt. This is
You're getting an argument with the lady who's just trying to...
they'll like me. I'm really... I'm not a bad guy.
Yeah, you're not yelling at them.
I bring in my
funny.
kids. They're all, "Why didn't you bring your kid in, honey?" And they're all nice ladies. I love them all.
Yeah.
And that's why it makes me uncomfortable, too, that I'm going to say their employer puts them in a situation to do something illegal. And does anyone think Walmart would really back their employees up if I were to actually, follow this through? Or when somebody that cares even more than I follows through and brings, charge it or a lawsuit.
No, they don't care about their employees.
And that's the thing. If I was smart, I would go after the individual who stopped me and restrained me, not Walmart. Because why would you go after a multi-million-dollar company?
Oh yeah, well you're not gonna stand a chance against them.
Right. So you go after the individual.
Yep.
And shame on Walmart for putting them in a situation. Holy moly! We have a cricket again. It was so silent.
Jiminy's back. We love you.
You can hear him so loud, I found.
Yeah.
Listening to the last episode, I thought it was like an ASMR video
like
or
a
something.
little,
Like we were outside,
Yeah.
like filming in nature.
So Jiminy's on top of the mic, huh?
It had to be nice to like the podcast-only listeners on SoundCloud.
The aura. Like we were
Stitcher,
sitting on a
Google
campfire.
Play. Yeah.
Hey, can you put a campfire sound over this?
Oh, dude, I could.
Yeah. That way, it'd be like we're sitting around a campfire just having a chat.
That's nice. We'll do that. We'll
Hey,
do like
it could be
a
like
Yule,
fireside chats.
all of December. We'll do a Yule log.
Yeah,
version.
I like that.
I like it too.
Maybe we can call them fireside chats with Brent and Chris.
Yes.
All right, cool. Well, so your week involved Walmart. Your never-ending saga with the receipts. You should get a badge that says, "I don't let my receipt be checked by no Walmart thugs."
Mm-hmm. I think
I bet people would buy those.
One day I'll meet a lawyer and I'll ask, why can't we not form a class action lawsuit for everybody who they violated their, their right not to be searched?
You probably
but that's
could.
From the government, I don't know. See, this is the thing.
But they'll probably throw it out.
I know, and that's the thing. Constitutional rights really only applies to the government.
You would make a name for yourself in the news because you at least brought the case forward.
Yeah. I think the number one thing I would get done is they'd be like, well, we just put a sign up and posted it as policy, and then I would have literally nothing to say about it. But at least they would have done something, right? That's a win.
Yeah, yeah. Something to try to fight the man.
Alright. That's enough on Walmart. Thanks, people.
God love you, Walmart.
Yep.
Never any source of entertainment.
I know. So I wanted to do, anything in the news you want to talk about? Warren's climbing ahead.
What, is she ahead of Biden now?
No, ahead of Bernie.
For sure. I did know about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, the news cycle just, I don't know, I kind of feel like it's getting stale. Like, they're just dropping little things here and there. The president's in trouble again, but that's nothing unusual about that.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah, what was it this time? He was on the phone
there's a
with
whistleblower from the intelligence community. He was on the phone with a foreign entity of some kind. Don't know.
Made promises to this foreign entity.
Supposedly, yes.
I don't think there's any supposedly.
Do we know what the whistleblower actually said? That was the issue I heard on NPR today or this morning.
We don't know who he was talking to or what promises were made. We know he made promises to a foreign entity.
But they do know for sure it's that, and it was the president. Because this morning they didn't even know that much. But things have changed.
I hate to go off Stephen Colbert because that's what I'm going off of. But
yeah, I don't know.
I don't know.
So as of this morning, NPR said, no name for the whistleblower. Intelligence community for sure was listening into a conversation of a high-level official. Everyone assumed it was the president.
And this is my thing. Then Trump tweets out, "Of course I know that I was on a highly populated phone call."
So he admitted that it was him. Because you would never think that he would not know, right? They would have tipped him off first.
I don't know why we assume just because just because somebody commits a crime in public doesn't mean it's not a crime. It doesn't negate the fact it's a crime.
Sure.
He can't just say, there was people on the phone. Why would I do that?
Just because other people are listening doesn't mean that it didn't do something. Correct.
Right.
They may have just chosen to interpret it differently. Sure. I think that was my argument, to other people today. Like, then when I posted on the Brent and Chris Talk Facebook page, that's what I said was, why on earth, basically, to sum up my point, why on earth wouldn't the administration, if there's nothing to worry about, if other people were listening and there's nothing wrong with it, why even block? This is what the administration, I think it was the Attorney General who decided that the whistleblower could not talk directly to Congress. No. Information could not be shared. Like, there was something that...
It was head of the Oversight Committee the whistleblower reported to in Congress, which is led by a Republican.
Okay. So, anyways, the administration is keeping the whistleblower information from Congress at large.
The GOP head of this committee, the whistleblower reported to, the Oversight Committee.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why.
Like, what's there to hide? Just let it out there, let it be investigated. We're never going to know. It's not something that's probably going to ever be public record.
Yeah.
Like, just let it happen. That's the same with everything. Like the administration cannot do things by the rules. They have to blaze their own trail of whatever the hell you want to call it. I have problems with it.
I watched an hour-long documentary. It was even. I'm gonna walk that back. I watched an hour-long Glenn Beck
Thing
on the Ilhan Omar.
Yes.
I don't know.
Nothing concrete.
There's nothing concrete.
There isn't.
The campaign violation she was guilty of, she repaid all the money for.
Yep.
The biggest crime that they are maybe accusing of her with no evidence is that she allegedly married somebody who they claim might have been her brother, and there's no evidence of that.
Correct. And again, I'm not going to sit here and defend her and say she's completely clean. I don't like her approach to some of the arguments that she makes against her political foes. But at the end of the day, I do disagree with making any kind of false claims of any politician. Like, if there really is fake news against Donald Trump, then it's bullshit and it should be thrown out.
Yep.
But all the stuff that the majority of the world's news organizations report, I'm going to go along with because, yeah, there's variances here and there, but the primary messages that remain consistent across the different news organizations, that's what I'm looking for as my basis for, okay, here's what I need to research for myself and form an opinion on.
Yeah, I think you start entering dangerous territory when you convince yourself that all of the mainstream media outlets are in league.
As a blanket message, yes. I mean, there's no real coordination. They have actually an incentive to not coordinate their message because if there's the exact same thing being said everywhere exactly verbatim, then you lose interest, people.
Now, that being said, when I was researching the polls with Warren and Biden and Bernie,
top three,
they are all drawing off one poll, and they're all regurgitating the same information about that poll.
Correct. Yep. Especially the breaking news is like identical across the different.
So, and again, I do not like a lot of the mainstream media. I don't think 24-hour news cycle gets you the best of anything.
Well, it's not good.
I've played 3-hour gigs. I like to think of it like this. I've played hour gigs. I've played 3-hour gigs.
Mm-hmm.
Jiminy was there. I heard that a lot.
You're my boy, Jiminy.
You're my boy. Head of the fan club. Anywho, and let me tell you, 3-hour gigs, like, you just get burnt out. People get burnt out.
It's too much.
It is too much.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Well, and correct. You get burned out because that's why I constantly, if I'm checking the news, I'm reading all over the place. I'm on my social media.
Yep.
I'm actually surfing the news. I go to Yahoo News sometimes too, just to kind of see what they've got up on there.
Yep.
And I think that it's worth just kind of getting around up there. I mean, like we said before, Fox, and for me, I read Fox recently, the BBC. CNN's a big one for me, but that's mainly because I like
Glenn Beck is so theatrical. Like, and I guess they all are, but first off, Glenn Beck, get a new camera, man. Seriously. Like, just get a stationary camera. That's all you needed. I'm watching this hour-long thing, and this camera's, like, up and down and, like, jogging, and it's like, what's happening? You're sitting down behind a desk.
Should not be moving.
There's no movement necessary. I don't know what was going on. Anywho.
That's
but
terrible.
Hour-long. Now, I'm going to have all kinds of crud in my YouTube feed, but getting back, he sells it. Glenn Beck sells it as it's like, you're going to have a hard time finding this on the internet because they don't want you to know this story. And it's...
So...
I don't think it's that. I don't think people care. I think the biggest allegation they have against her, this Ilhan Omar, is that she may have defrauded the immigration system to get another person to go to school for free. Or go to school here. I don't necessarily... I mean, I'm sure it's bad. And sure, let's investigate it. If any real evidence comes to light that's worth investigating. But that's not malicious.
Yeah, I won't defend anything there. Crimes are crimes. They should be prosecuted, but give me some facts I can lean on to say one way or the other. Like, I don't think she's totally clean and innocent, but I also don't feel like she's committed egregious crimes where she could not be representing the voters that put her in office.
I'm going to do
Let's
this
segue.
after you do your bit on there, because I had some facts or statistics I wanted to open our show with, if you don't mind.
Okay.
So switch. Calling an audible. For you football fans. Anyhow, I wanted to dive into this week's show main topic, which of course is the top 3 Democratic challengers for the Democratic presidency challenger.
Well, yeah, we're heading toward the primaries.
Heading towards the primaries.
And
nowhere online can I find a side-by-side...
Oh, yeah. The grid.
The grid
yes.
differences between...
It's happened before. There have been good websites before that had listed candidates,
and
topic, stance.
Does not exist right now.
Correct.
For these 3. So we are groundbreaking this week.
That's right.
And
the first ever to report to you.
Now, all my information came directly from the 3 candidates' websites.
Mine
so Biden, Sanders, and Warren.
Correct.
Is
all the websites.
Everything. Now,
from the horse's lips.
From the horse's lips. These are some statistics that I thought were interesting to kind of set the stage before we go.
Dive right in. Yeah, gotcha.
There are 30. This is what I thought was strange. 30 million Americans without health care.
Yeah, it can't be true. Yeah, 30 million without health care. I think that sort of makes sense.
And then 30 years ago, tuition and fees for a public 4-year university totaled at $3,360.
Yep.
At today's, adjusted for today's dollars.
Yeah.
And whereas today's cost over $10,000.
I definitely believe that. I mean,
mine's over 10,000.
Yeah, in my 4 years in college, I mean, it went it went up several times.
Right.
For sure.
The median hourly wage for college grads has risen less than $1 since 2001 when you adjust for inflation.
Wow. That's crazy.
Is
that like on average? Median,
yeah.
Median. Okay.
Median, so it's the average.
That's a long question. Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. I mean, it's staggering, but that makes sense. Wow.
The Washington Post reports that you have a 1 in 2 chance of earning an undergrad degree by 24 if your family makes above $90,000.
Definitely believe that.
But a 1 in 17 chance for families making under $35,000.
I mean, the thing is, by those numbers, if your parents are making that much money, usually someone's gone to college. Not absolutely required or the case, but a lot of folks, unless your parent is like, I don't know, a police officer who is of a certain rank or something, working a ton of overtime, like
Billy Mays.
Yeah, well, I would just say that I think that most of those folks making over 100 or making over 90 grand are college graduates, and that therefore they'd be pushing their kids to do it too. And not that the other folks would not, but
the reason that
they can afford to help them.
Yeah, the reason that they argue this is relevant is they say that the financial burden put on by colleges makes it really hard for people who don't have a financial safety net or anything to fall back on to get through college.
Barriers to entry. I mean, just because you can get some scholarships to pay for part of your school doesn't mean that it's going to take your room and board and transportation and all that other stuff,
45% of college students report struggling with hunger.
Yeah.
Can I say that struggling with hunger is a very, I was having a hard time writing that one down because I'm like, did they call college students late at night?
I think they legitimately...
I'm so hungry, man. Yeah.
Kill the roach. Let's go to McDonald's. No.
I don't know. That was just strange.
I don't think they meant that.
Which
45%. Wow, that's kind of staggering to me too. Almost half. Wow.
56% struggle with the cost of housing.
Believe that. I mean, I know people that were staying in small houses or apartments had a lot of people crammed in there.
Yep.
Because that's what it took to afford the rent and then to be able to afford a little bit of food.
17% experience homelessness.
Wow. That one's kind of shocking to me, too.
Sleeping in their cars, going to school.
Yeah. I mean, I think I've heard news reports on that kind of thing happening, but that's terrible.
This is a tough one. I'm going to have a hard time with this one.
Okay.
Half of married people... Oh, I'm sorry. Half of married seniors and 70% of unmarried seniors rely on Social Security for at least half of their income.
You lost me a little bit here. There's lots of halves there.
It's 50% of married couples.
Overall.
50% of senior married couples.
Okay, so half the pie.
And then of that unmarried of seniors. 70% of the unmarried seniors rely on Social Security for at least half of their income.
Okay. I follow you now.
Yeah, and then 20% of married seniors, 45% of unmarried seniors, their Social Security makes up 90% of their income.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, makes sense. A lot of pensions, that it's either a pension that's offsetting the Medicare, or you're getting, Social Security, or you have to have some other kind of assets.
Any guess what the average Social Security check is?
Did not see what you had. Is it? I think it's a monthly check.
Yep.
Average $1,500.
Close, $1,300.
Wow.
That means
That's terrible.
that we're asking them to live off $16,240.
That's just ridiculous.
A year.
You could not afford shit with that. You know what I mean?
Mm-mm.
That's terrible.
And most of those people are enrolled in Medicare Part B.
Okay.
And they have a standard premium that eats up 10% of their Social Security check.
Holy hell. Wow.
Now, 13% of people over 60 have no pension at all.
Yeah, okay. That gets back to my point earlier. I wasn't sure on the number, but wow.
And because Social Security payroll tax is capped, if you're making $132,900 a year,
yeah,
you pay the same as a billionaire. That seems like a pretty big gap.
Yeah, it's pretty significant. I mean, it's his, let's see, that's like what, 868 million. Like, I'm just, you know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
I'm not even close to that, man. It's still like 999 million, and then you're getting into the hundreds of thousands. So
ridiculous.
I'm not a math genius, but that's a big fucking gap. That's bullshit, man.
Today,
like, come on, it should not be capped. This is where all the rich ass people out there are just continuing to get so much richer than the rest of us because of crap like that.
Today,
That stops them from paying their fair share.
Pay 20% on long-term capital gains.
Yep.
And according to the Joint Committee on Taxes, the capital gains and dividends exclusion
Okay.
accounted for $127 billion in 2019 alone.
Well, so that's how much they made.
I'm
Yeah.
not saying that word right. My brain's just...
Yeah, I don't know what the hell that is either, just by what you've written down there.
Yeah.
But just the capital gains.
I would show you, but it wouldn't help you.
Yeah. So the capital gains itself, though, that's the money you make off of your investments.
Right.
So they're making 127 billion. And they
Well, according to the Joint Committee on Taxation, taxation, yeah, because people are able to exclude,
portions of those gains.
yes,
So they're making 127 billion, they're only paying 20% on some other portion of it.
yeah, well, yes, accounted for that much money
Yeah.
missed.
Wow.
Yeah, 127 billion a year is what we're missing out on.
Like, if you gave me $1 billion, my entire family could probably live for like the next 6 generations with nothing ever contributed into that. Like, I could figure that out.
I got a new cup. Still
What's that
figuring it out.
Shout commercial, where they're like, the Stains like singing, it's like a date or something, like,
I'm drinking
I love that stuff.
seltzer water, the thing you're supposed to put on stains.
So nothing, if anything, your shirt will just be more clean when it dries.
In that one little spot.
Yeah, nice.
Well, I shouldn't fast forward if you want to see my stain dry.
Yeah.
Or stay tuned to see it happen.
Don't miss out.
At live speed.
The best content.
Okay, so
Wow.
those are some of the
So you're making me
facts.
feel poor, man.
It's bad out there. It's bad out there. So again, we're doing Biden, Warren, and Sanders. All
Yep.
those facts, statistics came from their websites.
Campaign websites.
Yep. And we got this kind of broken up per topic.
Yep.
Do you want to do the climate, and then I can do Greta?
Sure.
Or do you want me to do Greta first?
Well, why don't you dive into Greta so it kind of remains homogenous with everything else we're doing with the candidates?
Yeah. There was the 16-year-old young lady speaking before Congress. Her name,
Swedish.
Yep. It's Greta
Thunberg, I believe.
Greta Thunberg. And she's the one who started this high school walkout. and that happened today, which is when we're recording on Friday. There was a walkout over climate change.
Okay.
And she said to Congress that you are to many a nation that people consider a country of dreams. And I also have a dream. She says that we work together to treat this climate change as the existential emergency that it is. She says now it's not the time for dreams, it's time to wake up.
Mm-hmm.
Congress is telling stories to soothe us back to sleep, and we don't have the solutions. In 12 years, from 2018, we had to cut CO2 by half to prevent a 1.5 Celsius
Temperature change. Yep.
But what people don't know is that was only 50% chance.
Right. So statistically, when the climate scientists were figuring out what the reduction would have to be to maintain our temperature in the current comfortable range, they said, okay, we got to keep it. We got to make sure it doesn't go up by more than 1.5 C. So they said through the study, if we reduce the carbon emissions, I don't remember how much or whatever. There was like billions
50%.
of tons.
Oh yeah, the tonnage. I don't remember the tonnage.
Yeah,
either.
if we do all that, then starting and we have 12 years from January 1 of 2018.
Yeah.
Then we have the flip of a coin's chance of reaching our goal and maintaining
because
our
we don't
comfort.
know how much methane the permafrost that's
Correct.
thawing is releasing.
Other variables.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
it's a lot. It's heavy.
And
it's
I
crazy.
know 1.5 doesn't sound like a lot this Celsius, but still.
It's like an average temperature thing, though. And think about everything else. So
sea level rise.
Permafrost melting, glacial caps going away, sea level rise because of that.
Yeah.
Changing weather patterns. Last 5-6 years we've had Category 5 hurricanes every year. It's never happened before.
I know this is like a losing battle, but I'm going to keep doing it anyways. I encourage us to not think of us as Americans, but think of us as a global citizen. And America has...
So are humans.
Yes.
You can't help it, right?
Yeah, and now the truth of the matter is America probably won't see the brunt of most of the effects of climate change.
America as it is today, none of us will. More than likely.
I mean, yes and no. Florida's already day flooding in different places.
Well, I mean, like, acted small. Okay. The major climate change is what I'm talking about.
Sure.
We're not going to see where the freaking Sahara Desert is all of Mexico now or something like that. Like where it's so hot, people can't habitate down there. So they're up here. We were talking about it before the show. Like, we're going to see the small changes to me.
Yeah.
Sorry to cut you off.
No, you're good. The only thing I'll push back on that is Syria. A lot of people consider the war in Syria was caused by climate change because the land became impossible to farm on. So it was like 4 million people all went to the cities.
They had like a famine.
It was the weather patterns changed, and the land just dried up. They couldn't farm them anymore, and so 4 million people go to the city looking for jobs. Unemployment skyrockets in the cities, and it causes like a mass civil war in Syria. If you think we have Mexicans coming from like the border crazy like now, imagine what it's like when there's no farmable lands down there, or when it's completely inhabitable.
Yep.
And that's stuff that we're gonna see. I think he had friends over tonight.
Yeah, man,
Jiminy's
they're
having
throwing a party. One of them sounds all kinds of jacked up, like he's hit the sauce a little too much. I don't know if that's you, Jiminy, but hang on there, buddy. Are you puking back there?
Wow, that is intense.
So they're like all chiming in now. They're like, yeah.
We haven't got to the good
The
stuff.
environment's screwing us.
So Greta Thunberg. She's 16. She
very well spoken.
Very, very well spoken. I will share the link on our page.
Yep.
She reminds me, this is terrible, but the whole time she's talking, I could not get it out of my head. She reminds me of the voice of the computer girl in Resident Evil.
Oh, that's creepy.
Where it's like the house talking.
Yeah, I never was like big into the Resident Evil movies.
I watched too many movies.
So
I had a lot of time.
Yeah.
So that's Greta, and she's doing big things, like huge things for a 16-year-old. She's kicking butt, trying to save the world, make a better place. Greta, here at Brent and Chris talk, and 25 people who watch this show.
Might be generous. We're going to say 25.
We applaud you.
All right.
All right. So, you want to dive into the candidates and their take on climate?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm just going to kind of go down the line and talk about
Buckle
points. And then, buckle up, guys. Giddy up, because we're going to kind of get on the horse and see where it goes. So, talking about the different candidates, Warren to start with, she is one of the supporters of the Green New Deal.
Yep.
Which I don't know if I wrote a ton of different comments on that like I had talked about, but we can discuss in principle the Green New Deal overall, maybe a little bit later. I want to talk about some of the other things too, like that are more specific.
Yeah.
Because, and maybe I should talk up high level. The Green New Deal is the concept or idea, right, of over a rapid, I think a decade, like 10 years or so, they want to basically flip the entire economy and infrastructure over from fossil fuel based to renewable energy based. And by they, I mean it was written by Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
Ortega-Cortez.
Okay.
Ortega-Cortez.
Well, I will never say her name right, so I'm just going to say AOC.
Yeah.
And then there's another guy from Indiana, I believe, another Democrat who co-sponsored it.
Massachusetts. MA, I thought.
I just looked it up.
Tom.
I gotta get it right. I have to know because I've already looked it up once.
I know, and I'm gonna chime in anyways.
Do it.
I can't help it. I've looked up the Green New Deal too. The Green New Deal is like a non-binding. It's nothing.
Correct. It's an idea.
It's an idea.
Yep.
Okay.
Ed Markey from Maryland. No. In Massachusetts. Man, I don't know how the hell we graduated from school.
It's been a long time.
Yeah, so anyways, keep talking about Green New Deal as a concept.
Yeah, it's a concept. It's non-binding resolution. I don't know what
Massachusetts.
Massachusetts.
Anyways.
We know our state initials. And, so it's non-binding resolution.
Yep.
Da-da-da.
Ideas, pushing it, pitching
it's ideas.
it, trying to be ambitious.
It's just ideas, and it's trying to be ambitious. And all the Republican talking points you hear about it are nonsense. And we're not doing it today specifically in the show. We're just doing a quick kind of overview. But
yeah. I mean, we could go into that more. Let us know if you guys want us to talk in depth about the Green New Deal and why it's not
really a thing.
Well, it's not. It was never meant to be like, hey, we're going to put this in the law and kick the crap out of industry and make them do this. No, it was meant to be, hey, and I would say it was meant to be a Democrat pitch.
Yep.
Here's our plan for how we're going to fix the climate crisis. And by crisis, we talked about this before the show too, the environment does not care about us at all.
Yep.
Whether or not we do anything, the Earth will be here for as many years as the sun does not explode and burn up the Earth. But
4.5 billion.
Yeah, we got some time on that, and we won't even be around. Human race probably won't be around for that one. But you stop to think.
Rate.
Yeah, definitely not this rate. But you stop to think about it, we're just talking about how do we maintain the climate to a comfort level that is sustainable and would allow us, like, the environment to exist the way it is now for future generations. How do you preserve that? So yeah, it's an idea. It's how do we do that given the fact, and this isn't just the U.S., right? But we have to do something because we are the largest polluter in the world. I know that China and India are not too far behind us and catching up. But I think as I would say the leading country in the world when it comes to many things, not all things, why don't we set the example? I mean, if we, the biggest, polluter, could do things like that, like we made it to the freaking moon, like who the hell at the time thought that was even possible, right? There's countries who just in the last couple of decades, like China and India, who just got rovers there and things that orbit, satellites that orbit around it and take measurements of the moon. Just now we did it in the 60s with computers that are less smart than my TI-83 from college. Like, it's insane. So it's just that the Green New Deal is not meant to be something to slap you in the face and here's what's gonna happen to you. So Warren is a supporter of that in principle. She also supports the Paris Climate Accord, which again, that was different from the Green New Deal in that there was a signed accord.
But again, there was no enforcement
Correct.
arm of it.
No consequences either.
Exactly.
It was just a commitment.
It was yes.
You know, and I think the Obama administration, credit where it's due, did set us on a path where we could, a path to meeting those commitments. Not
Jeff
guaranteed.
Bezos today or yesterday just announced that Amazon will meet the requirements set forth in the Paris Climate Agreement 10 years before we were supposed to.
Yeah, and I believe it. Something about they're converting their vehicles,
Their
facilities.
Facilities.
Yeah, that's good.
He's gonna let his hair grow back. I don't know.
With as much money as he has, I bet that would be. He'd probably find the right doctor and like, oh, we can make that happen for sure.
For sure.
Who do you want to look like? Do you want to look like Bob Ross? Have an afro? Imagine that on Jeff Bezos. A little tree right here, a little friend.
Mm-hmm. Happy Bush.
That's right.
Be a good name for him.
His nickname, Happy Bush. Oh my God, Happy Bush Bezos.
Happy Bush Bezos.
Jeff Bezos, if you hear us talking about you like this, it's not that we
need
don't
$1
like you.
billion.
We do need $1 billion because this show could be so much more. Get back to us.
I know. That's all I could think watching that Glenn Beck thing. If we had that kind of money,
yeah,
we'd have such a better production quality.
Any sponsors of Glenn Beck, we know you'd never sponsor this show, but if you gave us a 16th of the money you give that show,
I'd go on the
you'd be
Blaze
shocked.
Network. Hey, Blaze Network, come on, pay for some lefties to get on there.
You need some counterpoints to what you got out there. Broaden that audience.
Yeah, we'll go anywhere.
That's right. Make it happen. Anywhere. Let's talk about that offline.
If you let us talk how we want to talk, and you let us say the words we want to say.
And don't edit out everything to make us sound like crazy people. Careful what you say.
I know.
So Warren,
yes.
Is
Warren Climate.
Yeah, she's also a sponsor or a supporter of taking executive action to stop drilling, pretty much all drilling for fossil fuels beyond what's already tapped oil well wise.
Sure, I totally support that.
And to promote renewables in the public sector.
As Trump tweeted out, though, he didn't say we have. He just tweeted out plenty of oil. That's all it said.
Just like someone drunk off their ass in a hammock somewhere, just plenty of oil.
I know we don't have plenty of oil. We do have plenty of sunshine.
Yes. Yeah, that's absolutely true. It doesn't shine all day long, but we can find ways to use geothermal and wind power, and you can keep the grid going.
Kershaw from Texas, the eye patch guy, he was on Joe Rogan. I thought he came up like an idiot.
That guy is so hard to take sometimes. I was impressed a few times with some things he said.
Same here, and then the dumb
foot in mouth
falls out.
Yeah.
He talks about how
it's terrible.
The sun doesn't stay up all day, and we don't have the abilities. I disagree.
What about hydropower? What about wind power?
Hydro, wind, yeah, like
geothermal.
Geothermal. That's
and guess what? Geothermal, geothermal for sure doesn't dry up.
Does not dry up. It'll go.
Hydro goes as long as you got dams and waters, and usually they regulate those so you always have hydropower.
Yep.
Wind power is more reliable, or not probably the least reliable. I'm sorry, is what I should say, because it just depends on wind patterns. But the sun, even if it's not a sunny day, it still collects. I think.
Well,
the efficiency factor is way higher than it used to be too. You can literally have your entire roof made out of panels from Tesla or Solar City, one of those.
Teslas aren't out yet.
But you can pre-order it. I was looking at the website.
Yeah.
It's not that expensive.
No.
Your whole freaking roof can be these things, guaranteed for 50 years.
I thought it was 30.
30? 30? I thought 30.
Well, that's what he said on the podcast.
It's got a nice guarantee for those things.
Yeah. Same as a traditional roof is what he said he was going for.
Took a hell of a hit, so I would definitely do that if I had the scratch to put up for it.
Yeah, we just redid our roof.
So, need to be pushing that. Warren also pushes something she talked about, what I thought was kind of interesting, which was to use public markets to accelerate clean energy adoption. So basically, she was talking about how today companies don't have, publicly traded companies, for example, they produce annual reports, and the annual report covers earnings and market share and different sales and all kinds of different key metrics that companies use to run themselves and also want to share with their shareholders so that they can attract investors and retain investment, right, and generate revenue to run the business. but they don't have to report anything about how the company would be affected by climate changes. How it would affect the company's ability to operate, how it would affect the customers, their investors. And so she was talking about having to start reporting requirements that would basically push them into admitting and talking more about how much climate is going to impact not only their business today and like for the next year or so, but also 10, 20, 50 years from now. Like you have to have a longer term outlook to say, you know, if the sea level is going to rise and you're going to need a whole bunch more infrastructure, you got to start thinking about what's it going to take to build that. You're going to have to rebuild all these docks, these massive, because shipping is never going to stop.
Right.
But you're going to have to keep rebuilding it and reestablish it because a lot of it's attached to ground. So, I mean, there's floating mechanisms. I'm not going to get into all those details, but I think it's important to note that that's an interesting take. I'd never really thought of kind of shaming people into, it's not shaming, but you know what I mean? Like, tell the truth about what the outlook really is, not just about how you're trying to make sure you get more revenue. In her total climate change package, she put a price tag on it of about $2 trillion, which would be paid for through some things I'm going to talk about when I get into the economic analysis. But that's the big highlights from Elizabeth Warren when it comes to what she supports on climate.
What about Mr. Sanders, or who do you want to do next?
We can go to Sanders. It's like her right-hand man.
Yep.
So Sanders proposes that we'll be switching to 100% starting day one of his presidency. A lot of things that he wants to start day one.
I know, he's getting busy first day.
His people are not going to sleep for like a month, and it's all going to be first days to get all this shit done. That's a whole different
First thing we do, we're going to legalize amphetamine.
They're funny. He's going to go like this. But day one, he's going to start executive action and proposals to start us on a path to switch over to 100% renewable electricity and transportation by 2030 and complete decarbonization. I put that in quotes. I wasn't quite sure what decarbonization meant. Because we're made out of carbon. You gonna get rid of us? That was a joke.
Maybe.
Maybe. So decarbonization by 2050. So
Bernie's actually a plant.
Yeah. What's that? God, what's that superhero called? That's like a tree thing. Oh my God, Guardian of the Galaxy.
Oh, Groot.
Yeah, that thing. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah.
I'm Groot.
Yeah, it's a tree. So there you go. He may be one of those things.
I believe it.
So, very ambitious. Not impossible, but again, more along the lines of the Green New Deal, which Bernie talks a lot about and how he supports that package of ideas, and this is his plan to implement the Green New Deal. Yeah. So, the next big thing he has is, I was talking to you about this before the show, he's not like the others guaranteeing, 1 million jobs or 5 million jobs. Bernie says he's going to end unemployment through the creation of 20 million jobs, primarily in the green energy and public land preservation sectors.
I believe it.
I am not like that. I mean, I like that concept. I think it's a bit bold in terms of wording.
I know.
I mean, you're never going to completely end unemployment because there's other I call them dumb factors, but some people don't want to freaking work.
Yeah,
and so
the
they're
right to start
technically
your own business. And...
Yeah, correct. There's a lot of unemployment, right? So don't use those words.
Start
but
a podcast.
I believe he would create millions of jobs. 20 million might be a bit ambitious. I don't know though. Maybe he's done studies I haven't read into yet. But that's pretty cool. Green energy, I think, if you're truly going to flip the electric power generation and transportation to 100% renewable by 2030, you're going to need millions of jobs, people to make those cars. Trucks, vans, all that stuff. Build the chargers, build all this, everything.
And then 2030, the economy crashes.
Yeah.
We all have electric cars.
I don't know. You got to make all those cars.
I know.
And you got that Rivian down in Bloomington making those trucks and SUVs. Hopefully they'll become more affordable and more people buy them,
Yeah.
I kind of like that. Check them out anyway. Local company, Rivian. Shout out to you guys. Let us know if you're going to let us sit in one of your cool cars.
Or if you have $1 billion.
Yeah, if you have $1 billion, which I doubt. I think you have millions, hundreds of millions in capital investment, but that's a different podcast.
We don't need
Yeah, we don't need much. So, Bernie talked about. I'm really good at just plowing on.
No,
Sorry.
it's good. I'm good at selling out.
Bernie talked about how he wants to invest 16.3 trillion. I had to check that number, trillion, in the public sector in terms of upgrading infrastructure to support the new grid that's 100% renewable, and to pay for a large bit of worker transition, he calls it, where coal miners, fracking rig people, and forgive me, I don't know what these jobs are called. Pretty much anybody and everybody and
oil whisperers.
Yeah, anybody who's in the fossil fuel industry will have an opportunity to transition to this new economy, which is really what it is. Yeah, it's retraining for using existing skills, but just applying them and then learning new ones to a new industry, which I think is cool. And I think he is the only one I saw that talked about that, because you can't stop thinking about the people in these industries. What are you gonna do? They have families. They need to make money.
I'd buy them out.
Here's an income for life. You know.
Yeah. It'd be cheaper.
Now you're talking like that Yang guy.
I know. I don't care. It'd be cheaper to buy them all out than it would be to like continually do harm to the planet.
Probably.
Yeah.
So I like the idea of that worker transition piece. I think it's also worth noting that drilling for oil and other things will probably never completely go away, at least until there's like full synthetic compounds for everything. Like, think about rubber. Any product made out of rubber. There's natural rubber, but there's also synthetic rubber that's created from fossil fuel, like crude oil and things like that. I don't know how it's all made, but like all these different. There's tons of products I can't even begin to name you that we interact with every day that require lubrication and plastic, all kinds of stuff. So we're gonna have to figure out how to make those plastic containers I use to take my lunch to work out of trees, leaves, or some shit.
It's called lunch boxes, Brent. No, I'm kidding.
Okay, now. So yesterday, my wife made a chicken pot pie. So you're saying that just open up my lunch, unzip that sucker,
mahogany,
flip her open,
mahogany,
take a big old scoop of that pot pie, just slap it on in there. Just like make a trough.
You might as well just chuck it in the box,
yeah,
dude.
And I could put the pumpkin bar right on top of that, like just, yeah.
That's not gonna be one thing.
Yeah, and then it worked.
But you're saving the environment.
You kill me, man. I'd rather have mine pressed out of the leaf out back of my house than throw it in the trough.
Yeah, no, I understand. I completely understand what you're saying.
So yeah, this is something else too that Bernie talks about that no one else does. He's going to declare day one.
Yeah,
climate change a national emergency. So taking a play from Trump's book and flipping it around. It's not the wall. It ain't the Mexicans. Guess what? The fact that we're all going to die from the fucking climate changing.
A real emergency.
It's an emergency. Mm-hmm. I like that idea. I'm on Bernie's side with that topic for sure.
Dribbled again. This cup, man.
Yeah, you have to get a new cup. Is it just not sealing?
I don't know
what brand is this crap?
It's the Walmart brand.
Yeah, that's why.
You know.
See?
China.
How much did that cost?
It was like $5.
This was Hecho in China too, but guess what? This is Stanley bad boy.
Yeah.
$12 at Marshalls.
I know.
Stanley sponsorship.
I have like 7 Stanley thermoses. I would make a great. I have the Stanley French press, the big one, the like one. I have the cup one, the French press cup one. I drink a lot of tea. I drink a lot of caffeine. And then I have the old school thermos that my grandpa had with the glass inside. I have at least 2 of the metal ones. I have some of the 25th anniversary ones.
So what you're trying to say is we need to reach out to Stanley.
Stanley.
Thermoses.
$1 billion. That's all we're looking for.
I'll take 1 billion rupees at this point. So we talked about the national emergency. Last big point that Sanders talked about quite a bit on his page was support for small farms, which I thought was that's good. I mean, I think that the farming ag industry would be a whole nother topic, which is near and dear to my heart. My uncle's a farmer. I've worked on the farm a lot when I was a kid, and I still understand a bit about what's going on with farms, and I do think that there is a big need to support small farms, to really build that economy back up, because there's just, with climate change and a lot of other factors, the trade war in particular the last year,
Yeah.
it's hard to be a farmer. And unless you're a massive corporation absorbing losses year after year, putting food on the table is hard to do if you're not doing that.
So
So,
in California, they were paying farmers not to grow.
which is just absolutely insane. Like, you got to tell me there's something you can use those fields for. But it's probably like not fields, right? California is not flat. It's like orchards and stuff out there. Like,
I believe California is like the number 2 or 3 producer of corn.
really?
Yeah, I'll look that up. I'll
Yeah.
put a little correction thing. I got dribbles everywhere. But
Yeah.
yeah, I'll get to the bottom of the California. They got a lot of farming.
Yeah.
They're the 4th. They could be like
I believe they have a ton of farming, for sure.
Yeah.
I didn't know they were big into, like, field farming.
grain.
Yeah. No. So, we need to circle back to Biden.
Good old Biden.
Yeah. Uncle Joe.
At the end, let's talk about the websites, because I'm sure you have opinions.
Yes, I do. Oh, yeah. I have an opinion on everything, buddy.
Yeah.
You know me. I was like a natural-born critic.
I know, same here.
Like, I have to, like, sit there and tell myself not to, like, just drill people into the ground. It's not that I hate people. It's just, like, I'm so finicky about things. So, I can admit that.
So, good old
Mr. Biden.
Uncle Joe.
Yeah, Joe's I got a soft spot for Joe, in so many ways. We've talked about this. He's not perfect at all, and so I'm not going to sit there and say, Joe Biden's the greatest thing. He's going to be the best freaking president we ever had. Like some people say the current president is. So I'm not going to say that. But when it comes to climate change, Biden is, I've not read that he's a direct supporter of the Green New Deal. I think that in principle, he's a supporter of it. His ambition is that the U.S. achieves 100% clean energy economy, and then that we reach a net zero emissions by 2050.
Too slow.
Yep. Well, too slow by the standards of the other candidates. Definitely.
Too slow by the standard of science.
Well, that too. But we're talking about the other candidates.
Fair.
So, much slower.
Slower than all the other candidates.
20 years slower.
Than Warren and Sanders.
Yeah, to do the clean energy economy. Now, he uses different words. Like, Sanders was talking about renewable electricity and transport, but that's not covering other sectors, right? Warren's probably the most extreme with the Green New Deal support and just flat out, like, pushing the entire...
Right.
I like that decarbonization term, by, like, the 2030s. So you got Biden 2050 on that. He wants to build smart infrastructure, which I think that's mainly just upgrading the infrastructure to the modern age, everything, right? To sustain this. He's the only one I saw that talked a lot about taking action against specifically oil and gas polluters, making them pay higher fines. Bernie did talk about that some too, like
Carbon tax.
Yeah, carbon taxes and fines and other regulations that could make it less profitable and less attractive to be in those businesses. Biden wants to immediately have the government buy 100% clean vehicles because I can't remember. He said they have like a $500 billion budget. Now, not all that's vehicles, but he wants to flip those guys, that organization switch to say all the government spending now that can be, they want to drive towards clean energy and those kinds of purchases.
I can get behind that.
He's wants to bring back the fuel economy standards.
Yep.
That basically the Obama administration put in place that are now rolled back, but push them further.
Yeah. Get up to where California is.
Right. He wants to also invest in biofuels, that's part of his economic plan also, but he wants to invest like in ethanol, other biofuels, because to him, it may be easier to convert over some of the existing, like some vehicles now can run on certain biofuels with minor or no modifications.
Yeah.
So I think that's attractive too, because you got to think about it, like if in 10 years I got to give up my gas truck, maybe I wasn't planning on getting a new vehicle. You know what I mean? That's a burden on me. But if you can just provide me with different gas that's not going to pollute and I get the same truck, why not?
Right.
That's super attractive. The last thing I'll talk about with him is he wants to, kind of like what Elizabeth Warren was wanting to talk about start climate risk disclosures. That's what he calls them for companies. So that same kind of principle, sharing by company what your risk factors are when it comes to your business, your customers, and your investors.
Hmm.
And his deal's price tag is 1.7 trillion. I don't think I saw a number for everything on Bernie's other than that 16.3 trillion public investments. So wide array of numbers there, but Bernie's by far the most ambitious when it comes to the climate change and like what he can do.
Sure. That's
It's a lot.
a lot.
Sorry, I didn't mean to kill you.
No, I'm sorry I interrupted so much too. That's interesting. That's really interesting. Do you lean partially to one of those?
You know me, I'm a realist. When I think about what is most achievable, given what I think is going to happen, I'm worried that the Senate will not flip back to the Democrats, and if that happens, I truly believe that on the climate side of things that Biden can get more of his agenda done than the other two.
Sure.
Just given his proposals
Given
and how
politics.
it's a lot of what he's done is centrist, and I think that's to say I can reach across the aisle. That's I think where all this comes from.
I agree.
If I had if I wasn't about what could be done weighing so heavily on me, I would probably put my money behind Sanders.
Yeah.
Warren, I like her ideas. They're great. They're really along the lines of what Sanders has. I think he should take some of hers and put them into his. But I just like going for the gusto, man. That's like balls to the wall.
Big, go home.
For sure.
Yeah.
I could get behind that.
So let's see. We're going to go to healthcare or education?
Healthcare.
So I'm going to start with Biden.
Yeah.
I think it's fun. And I wanted to quote, I'm going to start each one with their opening bold print on their website. Biden's is, give every American access to affordable health insurance. That's his big thing. That's what he put in bold and new font.
Okay.
So by doing so, he wants to create a public option like Medicare, and he wants to fight for lower prices from hospitals.
Okay.
He also wants to increase tax credits to lower premiums and extend coverage to families making between 100 to 400% of the federal poverty level.
Which is super low.
It is low. But
Poverty level, like 25, 30 grand.
I think it's... Yeah, you're right. It's like 35, I think.
Okay.
So he also wants to... The way he said this was, a family of four making $110,000 will have their private insurance capped at a premium of 8.5% of their income. So all your premiums will be capped at 8.5% of your income. And they estimated that, again, for a family of $110,000, that would be an estimated monthly savings of $750. I don't know where they get that number from.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about that earlier too. I have a hard time with that one because I don't pay that much for my health insurance. Now, granted, I have company provided insurance. My wife does too, so I don't think we have a lot of bases to pull on there. Maybe ask Jeff.
Yeah.
Does he get his wife's insurance or
No?
maybe ask him? Like, if I have a ballpark, like you paying.
Yeah.
You paid $1,000 a month or something, and maybe you are. I don't know. I'm kind of,
Now,
maybe an exception.
Biden and Warren Sanders all have kind of, from what I found, one big money option to pay for all their ideas.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Biden's big idea is to close the loopholes in the capital gains tax.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Which I know maybe you'll cover that more. We can talk more about it.
No, I don't really have a lot on that, so that's fine.
So basically, as I mentioned earlier, that was like the second largest deduction.
Yep.
That people used. It's like $1 billion.
Rich people.
Yeah, and he wants to change that. He also wants to allow Medicare to negotiate drug prices. That's Biden.
Okay, that makes sense. I think that's something that's a lot of topic today in the news is negotiating drug prices too. It's a good thing.
I hear you. I do. It to me sounds like he's wanting to have his cake and eat it too, because he's saying we're going to get lower prices from the hospitals, we're going to get lower prices from the drug companies, we're going to let you have an option, and he's going to gut the insurance companies. He's going to gut their profit margins, and he thinks, like, who's going? I don't see how that's any different than a tariff. Who's going to eat those lost monies?
Well, like we were talking about before, I mean, my thought is someone's got to pay.
Someone's got to pay.
So
they're going to fire a bunch of executives.
Well, if you don't want the insurance industry to collapse, then you're going to have to subsidize it or provide some way for them to make a profit that is attractive to remain in business.
And that's why I don't like Biden's plan. Me personally, it seems like he's gutting an industry that shouldn't exist at all, and he's letting them just limp along. And I agree with Brent that eventually what's going to happen is the government's going to have to bail them out, an industry that I don't even think should exist.
Yeah.
And Warren and Sanders differ a little bit. Warren, her big thing, when you go to her health thing, her plan, is Medicare for all. Okay? And she wants to do that through Affordable Drug Manufacturing Act.
Okay.
And this would allow the Department of Health and Human Services to manufacture generic drugs in cases which no company is manufacturing a drug, when a drug price spikes, or when the WHO, World Health Organization, lists a medicine as essential. So they would allow the government entity to make drugs, to
contract manufacture it.
Basically, yeah. And she has another thing called the Behavioral Health Coverage Transparency Act, which would hold insurers accountable for providing adequate mental health benefits. And then she also has a CARE Act, which would invest $100 billion of federal funds over 10 years to fight the opioid crisis.
Wow.
Yeah. That's her big thing.
Wow.
And again, so different from Biden. She's Medicare for all. He's everyday access to affordable health care.
Yep.
And then you get to Sanders. And Sanders is also Medicare for all. And he's going to do this with the help of the Medicare Drug Negotiation Act. That's his policy or plan.
Okay.
It allows patients, pharmacists, and wholesalers to buy low-cost prescription drugs from Canada and other countries with affordable, safe prescription drugs.
So don't bring them here, buy them from there.
Yep.
Okay.
And there is the Affordable Safe Prescription Drug Importation Act. That's what that is. His plan.
Okay.
So the other thing you would do is cut the price of prescriptions in half by pegging prices to the median drug price in 5 other major countries where that prescription drug is sold. And this is called the Prescription Drug Relief Act. So we're going to look at the 5 other leading countries, and say, what do you charge for this medicine? And then we'll take that median price, and that's what we'll charge.
Okay.
I think that sounds fair.
Well, I mean, as with everything, pricing should be what the market. It's supply and demand, right? And I think there's a market price for everything. And I truly do believe that the U.S. market price is not in proportion to what the global market prices are.
Sure.
So I think that in principle, it's a good idea. Definitely.
And that's healthcare.
Yeah.
That's their main differences. Biden, kind of on his own.
Yep.
And that he wants
private
to
and
prop
government.
up. Yep. And Warren and Sanders were big for the Medicare for all.
Government.
Yeah. And all of them are targeting drug prices. Biden.
Well, the problems are all the same. It's the solutions that, makes sense.
Right. Now, there's like this very small part of me that thinks I don't want the government to be completely in charge of healthcare because I don't like Trump and I don't like Trump's GOP. I don't like any of it right now. So why would I want them to be in charge of my healthcare? And I get that. And I can see Republicans being on the other side. I'm sure there's Republicans thinking, the Democrats are going to make us all get abortions.
It could be.
I'm sure
it'll be a headline.
The rhetoric. Yeah, exactly. So I mean, there needs to be very, very just safeguards that protects that politics stays out of it if government gets involved.
Yeah, I definitely
I mean,
don't like the.
Obama, when he did the Affordable Care Act, that's when we started hearing about the death panels.
Oh yeah, definitely. Don't like that concept at all.
Would you rather have Obama running a death panel or Trump?
Thinking I'll take my chances with Obama.
Me too. Me too.
I don't want the fat orange slob picking that up for me.
Do you want to take one? And do education?
Yeah, I can dive into economy.
Take it away, Brent.
So I'm gonna do it in reverse order. Let's go with Biden first on mine.
Sure.
So the Biden's economic plans, he calls it his vision for rebuilding America, is largely based on rural economic development. And he talks about a lot of different ways he's going to do that. And that's not everything, but a lot of it is about that. So he talks about trade policy to increase our exports and how that would help grow the ag industry and help farmers. He wants to develop regional food systems instead of having stuff getting trucked all over the place. Not necessarily because it should be, but more management of the food supply regionally to minimize waste. Strengthen antitrust, which is not rural at all. That's across the board nationwide, especially like what they're talking about today with like Google and Apple and these large tech companies, and how there's a potential antitrust issue there with them controlling information and the products you buy and so forth. I talked earlier about how Biden wanted to invest in biofuels, and what he talks about in his economic plan is expanding in bio-based manufacturing. So that includes everything from fuel, but it's also alternative products like the all-organic, like pretty much everything that you can do that's not related to fossil fuel industries.
Sure.
So I'm not doing a great job explaining that, but his website does if you want to read all the details. He wants to expand access to credit for new and small businesses, which I think is a great idea. That's not strictly to the rural, that's again nationwide, but also entrepreneurship and small business is kind of the backbone of the economy. I've never worked for a small business, but you do. And
mine doesn't really count. I mean, but the other thing that small businesses gets lumped into any company under 5,000 employees.
Yeah.
I work at a place that has 6.
Yeah.
On them ever.
It's a small business, man.
Yeah, I know. But
so is your next door neighbor at the tailoring place. So, I think that if Jeff had access to a line of credit, was ambitious and wanted to expand it, this kind of plan would be good for him.
Sure.
He wants to promote ethanol, other biofuels. I kind of already touched on that.
Yep.
And he also wants to invest in wind and solar. He talked about a lot, which I think that's a good plan for how you can create jobs for the creation, like the production of those wind and solar products, but also the installation and maintenance of them too.
Sure.
So, I mean, that makes sense. Other last tidbit, rural broadband. I thought that was another thing back to the rural, like getting everybody on broadband internet access to expand, availability to knowledge and information. So that's Biden. Let's go to Sanders next. He is big on, we talked about this upstairs, unions and collective bargaining. So he wants to allow unions to organize through what's called majority sign-up. So instead of a union having to be recognized by any specific entity, all you'd have to do is have a majority of the employees sign up on a card saying, I want to join the union. And once that took place, then within a certain amount of time that I didn't write down, it's very limited time, like I want to say like 10 days or something, like the company would have to recognize the new union and open themselves up for negotiations. So very, sweeping. Like if we're a company of 3 and me and you want to join a union, that's it, man. We're unioning up. Or we're going on strike, man. Get the rat out.
I'm for that. I think we need to see the union come back in its pure form, not what it turned into.
I like that statement better than the first part of what you said. In its pure form, yes. There is a reason why unions came to exist.
Yes.
My grandparents, yours, lived through a time when unions were necessary to keep people alive with food on the table.
I don't see how we're far away from that when you look at the discrepancies in wages.
That's a whole different topic. I'll give it to you in principle. Yes.
That's all I'm saying.
It's a problem.
It's a
the
problem.
reasons for why it's a problem, I think we may disagree on a little bit in principle,
Sure.
but it's a problem.
Seems
sure.
like seems like a safer way. It seems like a more, I don't know the right word. If you don't want the government to institute a high tax rate, then that's the other option. Like require companies to take their employees more serious.
I don't disagree with that at all.
That's all I'm saying. I think that unions could help redistribute the wealth.
Make
in
them
this
talk
country.
or walk the walk.
Yeah.
Yeah. This one I don't agree with really at all. Personally, Sanders wants to eliminate the right to work laws. I think it's something that was put into place with President Taft. You've heard of right to work states.
Yep.
Where you don't, if there's a union, you don't have to join it. You can still work.
Yep.
I personally, there's parts of it that I understand. Believe me, a lot of my family is and was members of unions, so I get that side of it. I personally believe that you should not be forced to join a union and pay dues if you don't believe in, like, if you truly don't believe in what they're negotiating for. Now, I do believe if you don't pay the dues, you should not reap the rewards. Like, you're on your own, buddy. You don't pay the union dues, and you're not part of that contract. Your ass is out in the wind.
Yep.
But if you don't want to, I don't think you should be forced. I don't think that's right. That you should be forced to join the union and pay for it. Because the argument is, the union says, well, you're going to get the benefit of it. That's the kicker.
Yeah.
I believe in that. If you don't pay, you shouldn't get it. So I think right to work is a legitimate right, should be intact, maybe just in different standard from what it is. Sanders wants to end the independent contractor and supervisor classifications that basically allow companies to limit benefits to their employees.
Right. Yep.
He wants to give federal workers the right to strike,
Mm-hmm.
which I think that's probably the right thing to do. I mean, a lot of those
They already do strike.
kind of.
They just could get fired for it and lose their pensions and lose
Correct.
everything.
Lots of things. Like, there's no legal right to strike there.
Yeah.
He wants to eliminate the ability to fire workers at will. So create it so you have to have just cause. I think that's good.
Yep.
People need stability.
How come? Just cause?
Yeah. Seriously, they can. Now, that's not a way to run a shop, because then you're going to start creating a lot of other HR problems. But yeah, you can totally do it. So again, just to sum up, a lot of union collective bargaining focused principles, other things he talks about on his webpage, but I grabbed the ones that I think ram his points home.
Yeah.
The last one on the economy I'll talk about, obviously, is Warren. She's got some ideas out there. Some of them make a lot of sense, easy to get with. The first one I'll talk about, letting 40% of a company's board be elected by the workers. I think that one's a bit out there. I mean, I think in principle it sounds good, but when you start to think about who the people are that wind up on boards of directors, it's not the guy who was just working on the welding line.
Well, and I don't mean this bad, but it seems just gratuitous. Like, 40%.
Of the board of directors is going to be elected by you and me.
And so what are they going to get accomplished?
Don't know.
When the majority outvotes them.
The idea is to bring it, to allow the people to get better wages and
they make
better
it 50%.
benefits, because they'll have a better representation.
I hear it.
Board. I talk to Warren.
I know it, and that's where it just seems like 40% seems pointless.
The whole thing is kind of a dumb idea.
It is. It's for show.
Put your time in something else. The second big piece of her economic plan is ultra-millionaire taxes. So you talked about this a bit with me. It's like the top 75,000 richest families in the U.S. would be subject to this ultra-millionaires tax, which would generate trillions of dollars, which she wants to then put into child care, student loan relief, a down payment for the Green New Deal, and her Medicare for All plan. So that's how she's going to generate the money to pay for that stuff.
And not to give away, but Ansel paying for Social Security, expanding Social Security.
So that's the economic differences.
Lots of money.
Yeah, lots and lots of money. I don't know. If you had to ask me who to pick here, I It's gonna be the other way. I probably would vote more for Biden and then Warren's and Sanders third if I had to go between these three.
Sure.
I'm not against unions. I just have a problem with some of the approach with his stuff. You know, maybe I'm wrong there. Maybe I do like his stuff better than I'm saying. Because I like right to work. Sorry, I don't like right to work, but the independent contractor, that's good. Federal workers, that's good. At will firing, that's good.
Yeah.
I like that stuff. Sorry.
I'm sure Warren probably is agreeing with most of the stuff that.
Probably.
So, education.
Yep. Let's do it.
I'll go opposite what you did. I'll start with I'll start with Warren.
Yeah.
So her big in bold different font is affordable higher education for all. And then it goes on to say universal free public college. She wants to cancel student loan debt for 42 million Americans, paid for by the ultra-millionaire tax, which is a 2% annual tax on 75,000 families with 50 million or more in wealth.
Yep. So that's more specific. Yep.
And she also wants to provide 50 grand in student loan forgiveness for every person with a household income under $100,000. And for every $3 above that, they would get $1 less. So if you make 130,000 instead of 50 G's, you would get 40 G's. If you made 160,000 instead of the 50 grand, you would get 30 grand. So,
okay,
50 grand would help me pay off my student debt by the time it's done. She also wants to do free K through 12.
Okay.
So again, all paid for by the
tax.
Ultra-millionaire tax.
Okay.
I'm gonna say Biden.
Go for it, yeah.
So Sanders, his big in bold thing: guarantee higher education as a right for all by placing a 0.5% tax on stock trades. So we're talking 50 cents for every $100.
Yep.
Seems reasonable.
Okay.
And a 0.1% fee on bond trades. And a 0.005% fee on
derivatives.
Yeah.
Okay.
Derivative trades.
So different investment transactions.
40 plus countries have similar laws, similar taxes.
Okay.
Britain, Germany, France, Hong Kong, South Korea. And he also wants to place the cap on student interest rates and cancel all student debt. Some of the things they're doing sound contrary to what they're saying. Because, I mean, I understand what he's saying. Place a cap on student interest rates. That's great. But then he wants to cancel all student debt. And he's providing free college for all. So where's the student debt? Or where's the interest rate?
Maybe only certain things will be free from college. Don't know.
Definitely gets strange for me.
Yeah.
And that's, and then we get to Biden. Now, I feel like Sanders and Warren gave at least numbers to try to explain. So, okay, you get to Biden. His bold thing in print says, providing educators the support and respect they deserve.
Okay. Sounds okay.
Sounds a little bit like hopes and prayers to me. That's what
I said okay.
Yeah, that's
not
what
great.
It reminded me of. So, and he wants to increase school psychologists.
Okay.
Which I'm for. Like, I like this idea.
Principle? Yeah,
no
sure.
problem with that.
I got you.
Then he went on to say he wants to defeat the NRA because it'll make schools safer.
Yeah, it sounds like the NRA is saying that all the fucking liberals are going to take their guns. It's like, Jesus.
I just don't know why this is in his education part.
Yeah. But I bring up guns in my education part of my...
I know. It seems so strange
Unless
to
you're
me.
talking about just like school violence in general. Jeez.
He wants to invest in all children from birth.
Okay. You're getting very pie in the sky.
I know.
We all have to invest in our children from birth, so what are you going to do?
This was a real one. He wants to close the $23 billion annual funding gap between white and non-white and Hispanic and lower income and higher income schools.
So just make sure they're all getting as much money as they need.
Yeah, he wants to make, which I'm totally for. I think every school in America K through 12 should have the same.
Yeah, I don't
per
disagree.
student funding.
Yeah.
So
Don't put it on all the local community because they'll never be able to afford it.
I had such a hard time finding where he was going to pay for all this. It wasn't until I got to his Social Security plan, which I found nothing for, because it linked me back to another plan, which then finally, after reading a little more thoroughly, I got to how he wants to close the loopholes with the capital gains.
Oh.
So we have Biden wanting to pay for all of his fancy stuff with capital gains.
Yep.
We have Warren wanting to come up with all of her money with the 2% annual tax and then the super rich tax.
Yep.
And then we have Sanders who wants to take money from stock trades. 50 cents for every $100. And bond trades and derivatives.
Okay.
And that's where all the money comes from for all these ideas. Do you care if I go into Social Security? I'll be quick.
No, go for it.
So,
Nothing on Biden.
there's nothing. I could not find anything Biden wants to do for Social Security.
And he's the oldest, I think. No, he's not.
No.
Bernie's the oldest, but he's old like the rest of them.
He seems the oldest.
And I don't mean that in a mean way, but come on, man. If you think about your fellow people that are in their 70s.
And so, as we know from our facts earlier, the average Social Security check is around $1,300.
Yep. Nothing.
And she wants to increase that by $200 a month, or $2,400 a year.
Which is, again, not very much.
I know, but for everybody...
Something. Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Man, it's getting
Don't fall
late.
asleep on me over here.
It's 77. We still gotta pound through this.
Yeah.
Update the outdated rules to better benefit women and people with disabilities, because Social Security does a terrible job taking into effect caretakers, women who stayed home and took care of their kids, stuff like that. They still provided things to the society, but it wasn't
Directly.
working.
Yeah.
And so she wants to require a 14.8% Social Security contribution requirement from individual wages over 250 grand. If you make over 250,000, you have to pay 14.8% Social Security contributions.
That sounds painful, man.
So, but if you work for a company, you're splitting that with the employer, so it's going to be 7.4 for you.
So about as much as we pay for sales tax on top of everything else you already pay.
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of more taxes.
I know. Me and you differ on this one. I'm okay with that, but I don't make much money for them to take. So there, well.
That's my problem because
Yeah.
I don't want them to take my money.
And
So I feel like I'd never have enough.
I know. So if you were self-employed, you'd be
Yeah.
paying that full brunt of the 14.8%.
Yeah, which is brutal.
It is. So 14.8 Social
Yep.
Security contribution requirement or net investment income for individuals over 250 grand or a family making over 400,000, and that plan extends Social Security 20 years. Because as of right now, it's meant to it would go solvent in
Insolvent.
insolvent. I'm sorry, in 16 years.
Hmm.
Yeah. Get creepy crawly bugs everywhere. Get Jiminy. Get Jiminy.
You have one job.
He's
bug.
over there.
Jeez. What about Sanders?
He maybe left the party.
Maybe.
So Sanders wants to raise the payroll. Social Security payroll tax cap to 250,000.
Yep.
Meaning, like I said earlier, if you made 134,900, you paid the same into Social Security as somebody that's a billionaire. He wants to increase that cap up to 250,000.
Why not increase to $1 billion?
I don't understand that either.
Like,
Because it would get insane.
that's fine.
I know. But even by him doing that, he extends Social Security viability for 52 years.
See, I don't want more, and I like that. Like, make it more viable and give me a chance.
And but see, the thing is, that is including his other plans with the lower cost of drugs and stuff like
So you got to make it affordable in that respect.
that. Yeah.
Okay, makes sense.
So
It's
I
all or
don't know
nothing.
if Warren takes into that account. Now Biden, again, it says, click on this to see more of Joe's plan. Joe's plan.
Uncle Joe never says I got a plan like Warren does, so that could be his problem.
Do you have what else? Did you have another one?
No, I have nothing
No?
else to contribute
Okay. So,
other than my commentary.
what do you think of the websites?
Well, Joe's has too much wordy, like speechy stuff all
I feel
over
like
the place.
Joe wrote it himself.
He could have.
That's what I felt like.
Now,
When I started reading
he
about
may have written the content and just not built
Yes.
the website.
when I
Yeah.
started reading about the NRA stuff in the education, I was like, very confused.
Someone's got to tell him to stop interjecting topics over one another. He sounds just as mad as the current president, who like makes things pit one another. You know, it doesn't have anything to do with each other.
And like in all fairness to him, to throw him a bone, like he's talking about things that Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders aren't. He's talking about how there's not enough school psychologists in the schools. He's
Yeah.
talking about
That's good.
that is good. But like if you go to his website and you want to learn about his different plans, he has 16 different tabs for you to click on. Some of them link you back to the
It's a lot.
16. Bernie has 25 different plans
Mhm.
that you can check out.
Yep.
If
His
you go to-
website's pretty good. I think I like his the best.
If you go to Elizabeth Warren's page, she has 44 plans.
She says she has a plan for everything.
Yeah, including breaking up big tech, gun violence,
Yep.
holding Wall Street accountable, trade, LGBTQ rights, which Bernie has a lot of those, but
Some of her
she
plans
has
make sense.
44 different things that you can click on.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's too much.
And yes, the one thing I agree with you. I really like Bernie Sanders' website the best. You click on it and it gives you like 3 sentences about it, and if you want to know more, it'll give you another box you can click down.
I like that. It's a good concept. Warren's isn't bad.
Warren's again. I think Warren had the cleanest website as far as her plans.
The homepage for sure.
The cleanest homepage, yes. I just like the way Bernie's website gives you.
If you want to learn something, go there.
Yeah. And that's our side by side take.
Yeah.
With tons of interjections and other things.
You know, and I feel like deep down, I am no closer to knowing where this primary is going to go. I mean, I have my own takes. You know, Uncle Joe's got a soft spot for him. But I'm not like 100% got to go for Biden. I mean, there's really good points, things that attract me to both Bernie and Warren. More Bernie than Warren, I think, at this point.
Joe's electability is going down, not up.
It is going down.
And
it's a problem for him.
The issue with Bernie and Warren, I don't know, it's not an issue, but they're almost carbon copies.
Correct. It's like split the primary.
The difference is, who their base is. Warren is kicking butt in the people with degrees and the older crowd, where Bernie comes in and mops the floor with the young people.
Yeah.
He's getting all the young people. He's getting the people without the degrees. He's getting the people who work in trades and stuff like that. I have to be honest. I think he could steal them. And by not going after each other, Bernie and Elizabeth, I think that they are setting themselves up to smoothly integrate the other's base.
Could be.
And that's where Biden, he's got the black vote wrapped up, African American vote wrapped up.
Yeah.
And Bernie had claimed that he had the Hispanic vote wrapped up, but now that's kind of coming out where they're kind of not so wrapped up. And I don't know. I still think Elizabeth Warren and Bernie make the best ticket because they have two bases that aren't interfering with each other, and they're the most united. I don't think they would be good partners for Biden.
Not Bernie, for sure.
Nope.
His problem, though, is that Bernie supporters don't vote statistically near as much as the others. Now, black voters and Hispanic voters don't vote statistically very well either, except for when Obama ran. And they don't allow blackface anymore, so that's not going to happen.
Unless you're Justin Trudeau.
Yeah, he fucked up.
3
You know
times.
what? I don't want to like go down that rabbit hole right now, but I think at some point it would be worth discussing. Like, I think it's important to note that the whole concept of like how African American people, even that label isn't liked by a lot of people. Like, so back in the 20s and 30s and 40s, 50s, black people were called colored, right? And that was not, it was demeaning, but it wasn't the same thing as calling them the N-bomb, right?
Yep.
And then I know the word Negro was fashionable too for like certain periods of time, different eras, right? Eras. And then you got like the 60s and 70s, and then the word black was considered the most appropriate. So like over time, like what is considered appropriate changes.
Yeah.
I'm not defending Justin Trudeau. Like I'm just saying that things that like for the show Friends, Joey Tribbiani, that character that's a womanizer and basically harasses women, right? In a lot of the episodes, and it was funny at the time.
Sure.
But and those characters,
Yeah.
like his in particular, don't play today. You wouldn't see it go down the way it goes down in that show. There's arguments to be made there. For another day.
Worth talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm fascinated by this election cycle, as they're all very interesting.
This is gonna be crazy. I just hope the president doesn't get reelected.
And that's my only fear with Elizabeth. I think she's coming out really good. I don't see her doing good against Trump.
I'd be worried to see her argue with him because like
Yep.
he's going to do the same thing he did to Hillary, and like for some reason to his base it plays out well.
Yep.
I don't know if Uncle Joe's got it in him to take on Trump because for some reason that guy's a cyborg and has all the energy in the world.
And he does good. Like when he can't remember something, he makes it seem like it's on purpose. When Joe can't remember something, it's like everyone knows.
Trump would straight up say he was right and die fighting off that lie.
Yep.
And Bernie's going to sit there and flip his hands every time he can't get Trump to shut up and stop calling him names or whatever it is.
Ha!
Yeah. I don't know. We'll see. It's a interesting time to be alive, guys. Let's just get excited about it and see where it goes.
Let us know what you think. Seeing or hearing the candidates and their differences side by side. Did it change anything for you? Did you learn anything? I like that I only have to post like 3 websites.
Yeah.
For sources.
It's a win.
It is a win. And I don't know what we're doing next week, so that's fun. Come back. It'll be a mystery.
Yeah. Well, something cool, though. We've been thinking about it. We've tossed around a lot of ideas. Several of them are going to require multiple weeks of research for us, not weeks for you to wait. We're going to make sure we stay on the weekly grind as much as possible and get different topics out there. But yeah, stay tuned. We have a lot more good stuff coming up, and just get excited. We are.
Have a nice day. Have a nice week.
Take care, bud.